Hey, Rejoice in Recovery group. Sorry that we're having to meet this way. This is not the way that I want to do this. However, until things get a little bit better and a little less crazy, I guess that we will be doing it a little bit like this. In the future, if we still have to do this online, I would rather us somehow get together and do an online meeting, but that's still something that I'm trying to figure out. So, in the meantime, I would like to welcome you all here. I'm not sure who all is watching right now, but if you're one of our members or if you're just listening in, then welcome to the class. This is Rejoice in Recovery. We meet every Wednesday nights at 6 o'clock, and we have a great little group, and I'm very happy and excited for the progress that we have been making. We don't really have any announcements right now other than, like I just said, we will be trying to get this under control and get back into our normal routine shortly, we hope. But anyway, I would like to start by reading our 12 steps. That is something that we start our meetings out with. And if you remember those or happen to have a book with you, you can go along with me as we read these. Step number 1. We admitted we were powerless over the effects of our separation from God, that our lives had become unmanageable. Step 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Step 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. Step 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Step 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Step 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Step 7, humbly ask Him to remove our shortcomings. Step 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Step 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Step number 10, continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Step 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. Step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to others and to practice these principles in all our affairs. And next, we will go on to the Serenity Prayer. And when we're here in the room together, we read this all aloud. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking, as Jesus did, the sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that you will make all things right if I surrender to your will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next. Amen. And all that's going on right now, what we see in the news all the time, coronavirus, COVID-19, it can definitely be very stressful. And if we find ourselves focusing on that all the time, it definitely can get us in a very depressed state of mind. So my advice to you is to do as little of that as possible. I mean, you do need to be vigilant in what you do and take precautions. That's why we are not meeting here, because we have been told to all of us to do social distancing and not to have more than 10 in a group. So I just felt that if we didn't do that, and if we did go ahead and come together, and then somebody fell ill, and then the rest of the group all got sick, that would be something I would feel very responsible for, and I would feel bad for allowing that to happen. So I know some of you guys wanted to come together anyway, and I apologize for that, but I just feel like this is the best way that we can do it right now. And I would like to talk, I would like to talk to you a minute about something that Pastor John Hagee has said about this. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for him. The things he says definitely has an impact, and he seems to me that he's definitely knowledgeable, and he knows what he's talking about, and he definitely loves Jesus, and he loves the people. And this is something that he has said. He says, choose faith over fear. We have heard an enormous amount of fear over television in America. The national media has shared this in a way that has terrified people. Perfect love casts out all fear. Be respectful of the environment in which we find ourselves, but do not be terrorized by it. When you choose faith over fear, your life is controlled by the power of God. And once again, that was said by Pastor John Hagee. So, since we're not really having class, I just kind of have a little story that I'd like to share with you. I think it kind of goes along with what's going on in the world right now, and it kind of goes along with this group. And I don't know if you've heard of it before or not, but it's called the teacup story. That was what was making all that noise a few minutes ago, but as you can see, I have a teacup here, and it may not be the kind of teacup that it talks about in the story, but it will work for demonstration purposes. Anyway, here we go. The teacup story. Pay attention and listen closely. There was a couple that used to go to England to shop in the beautiful stores. They both liked antiques and pottery, especially teacups. This was their 25th wedding anniversary. One day in a beautiful shop, they saw an exquisite teacup. They asked the clerk, "May we see that? We've never seen one quite so lovely." As the lady handed it to them, suddenly the teacup spoke. And it said, "You don't understand. I haven't always been a teacup. There was a time when I was red and I was clay. My master took me and rolled me and patted me over and over, and I yelled out, 'Let me alone.' But he only smiled and said, 'Not yet.' Then I was placed on his spinning wheel and suddenly spun around and around and around. 'Stop it, I'm getting dizzy,' I screamed. But the master only nodded and said, 'Not yet.' Then he put me in the oven. I never felt such heat. I wondered why he wanted to burn me, and I yelled and knocked at the door. I could see him through the opening, and I could read his lips as he shook his head. 'Not yet.' Finally, the door opened. He put me on a shelf, and I began to cool. 'Whew, that's better,' I said. And he brushed and painted me all over. The fumes were horrible. I thought I would gag. 'Stop it,' I cried. He only nodded. 'Not yet.' Then suddenly he put me back in the oven. Not like the first one. This was twice as hot, and I knew I would suffocate. I begged, I pleaded, I screamed, I cried. All the time I could see him through the opening nodding his head, saying, 'Not yet.' Then I knew there wasn't any hope. I would never make it. I was ready to give up. But the door opened, and he took me out and placed me on a shelf. 1 hour later, he handed me a mirror and said, 'Look at yourself.' And I did. I said, 'That's not me. That couldn't be me. It's beautiful. I'm beautiful.' 'I want you to remember then,' he said. 'I know it hurts to be rolled and patted, but if I had left you alone, you would have dried up. I know it made you dizzy to spin around on the wheel, but if I had stopped, you would have crumbled. I knew it hurt and was hot and disagreeable in the oven, but if I hadn't put you there, you would have cracked. I know the fumes were bad when I brushed and painted you all over, but if I hadn't done that, you never would have hardened. You would not have held. Now you are a finished product. You are what I had in mind when I first began with you." And the verse that goes along with that is Jeremiah 18:6. And the verse says, "Behold, like the clay in the potter's hand, so you are in my hand." So do you know what the moral of that story would be? The moral of the story is that God knows what he's doing. Not just for me, not just for one person, not just for two, but he knows what he's doing for all of us. He's the potter, and we are his clay. He will mold us and make us so that we may be made into a flawless piece of work to fulfill His good, pleasing, perfect will. So may this teacup story become our own story as we willingly yield to our potter's hand. So as I said, that goes along with each one of us. There's something that we can always learn from, that we can grow from, if we just let Him take control of our lives, and He can mold us and make us into the person that we really need and want to be. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and close. I know this was short. However, as I said, maybe next week we can get back together and do it a little bit differently. But right now, that's all I have. And I thank you for watching. And when we do get back to being in regular class, I would encourage you, if you need any type of support group whatsoever, you don't even have to have any type of an addiction. You can come just for support of any type, because everybody knows that we all need something. We all need some type of support, right? So anyway, I am just going to close right now, and I'm going to close with the Lord's Prayer. And if you would like to pray with me, that would be awesome. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Hey guys, so nice to be here today, and I just pray that you all stay safe and do what you need to do to get through this, and I do promise you we will get through it. So, goodbye everybody. See you next time. Bye.